Hello everyone and welcome to a game that happened in round 6 of the US Masters tournament. The tournament is already over and Fabiano won the tournament with a result. I'm not going to tell you with what result, but he was very impressive, or rating performance over 2800. And there are many games that I could show you. Yesterday is a rest day from the World Chess Championship, but I decided to show you this one, particularly because Fabiano played so well and because he had such an amazing rating performance. Here in this game, his opponent is Nikolas Theodorou, and he's going into this round with 5 out of 5. Same as Fabi, so they are both on a perfect score so far. And the game is just crazy. We're gonna have at least one, maybe two pause the video moments and see what's what. And even though the World Chess Championship match is currently being played, players are already actively collecting points on how to qualify for the next FIDE Candidates tournament, which will be played in 2016, same as the next World Chess Championship match. And the FIDE circuit is one way to go there. Fabi is trying to be first on the FIDE circuit, so is Arjun Ergaisi. For those of you who are maybe not following the chess news as avidly as you should be, Arjun, as of December 1st, is officially a 2800 player. He of course reached 2800 before, but now it's official. Because the official FIDE ratings in classical update every first of the month, and he becomes the 16th player ever to achieve the rating of 2800, and second player from India, first one of course being Anand. So yeah, some cool news before we check out the game. But now let's check out this one. You will really love it. And this is, I believe, the third time we are featuring Nikolas on the channel. First time I featured him, he defeated Temur Rajabov in that brilliant game where he spent like 2 minutes for the entire game. Second game I've shown you is where he defeated Arjun Ergaisi. Both links will be in the description below, so you can even check them out if you want. And this is now the third game where he faces Fabiano Caruana. So let's check it out. I think this is the first time that he faces a 2800 player. The game where he beat Arjun was, I think, around 2750, so he was not yet a 2800 player. So let's check it out. Fabi with white opens with pawn to c4. And okay, we have the English, the English is on the board. We have knight to f6. A pretty standard way of handling English. We have knight to c3, pawn to e5, knight to f3, and knight to c6. I often say when there's an English on the board, we will have the 4 knights of the English on the board. And now pawn to a3. This is only the 6th most popular continuation, but still should be considered a main line because there are so many games with this a3 move in the database. Pawn to d5, we have captures, and now queen to c2. We have knight captures and c3, b captures, and now bishop to d6. Sorry about that. We have pawn to g3, preparing to fianchetto the light square bishop, castles, and bishop to g2. We have queen to e7, and pawn to d3. All been played before. There's even a nice game from this year's Superbet Poland Blitz tournament where Magnus Carlsen faced Vincent Keimer, and Vincent played pawn to h6 here. Magnus won that very nice game. I've even shown it on the channel. But here we have bishop to g4, and it is now, as of move 10, that we have a completely new game. So you can see that Fabi playing pretty much instantly, spent 3 minutes so far. Nikolas investing a bit more time. Sorry, I see my interface is a bit messed up. And here we have pawn to h3. First the move where Fabi actually spent some time, but even though he did spend some time, he spent 3 minutes on this move. Bishop back to d7, we have castles, and now pawn to b6. Looks rather odd because the bishop has already been developed, and you are opening up this diagonal for Fabi's bishop, but on the other hand, the b7 pawn will not be a target, let's say, for the rook when it comes to b1, if it comes. We have pawn to e4, pawn to f6, sort of strengthening the center here, and Fabi now strikes with pawn to d4. We have queen to f7, inviting pawn to d5, but pawn to d5 now wouldn't be as impressive. For example, knight a5, pawn to c4, and okay, you did expand a little bit, but then the rook comes to c8, you can play c6, you open up the c file, maybe even double up on the c file. Maybe it looks like you're playing right into black's hands. So here, bishop to e3, we have king to h8, and now pawn to a4 with some maybe future pawn to a5 ideas if the knight moves. Rook a to d8, and now rook f to e1. Okay, you can see that the time on the clock has evened out. Fabi had to invest some time as it's not an easy position to navigate. We have knight to a5 with ideas of knight to c4 and knight to d2. Preventing this, we have queen to h5, now putting pressure on that h3 pawn. And here Fabi has to decide how to defend. Does he play pawn to h4? Does he play pawn to g4? Does he play king to h2? King to h2 is probably the safest way to play, and probably what Fabi would do maybe against a higher rated opponent. You can see that there's almost a 200 points rating gap between them. He plays pawn to g4, and this is, this is sort of asking for trouble. If anything, you give Nikolas a target to go after. We have queen back to f7, now queen to a2, offering a queen trade, but Nikolas declines. Bishop to e6, we have pawn to d5, bishop back to d7, and now knight to c4, offering a trade of knights, which Nikolas goes for, captures, and now the question is what to play here. We already discussed that maybe this isn't such a great idea for Fabi because you can play rook c8 and pawn to c6, but if you do that in this position, for example, rook c8, you prepare pawn to c6, let's say pawn to a5, pawn to c6, a captures on b6, c captures on d5, queen captures, let's say the queens come off the board, captures, a captures on b6. It seems like, okay, bishop captures and rook captures, but no, there's rook a7. That's the problem. And if you allow Fabi to activate like this, it will be game over very quickly. What can you play? You move the bishop, rook to c1, you defend your pawn, and okay, this pawn will be defended as well. Now I go rook b7, you maybe some bishop to f1 action. It will be very, very hard to defend this pawn. Most likely, Fabi wins a pawn and, slowly but surely wins the game in the long run. So, not the best plan. The best plan is to take advantage of the weakness left behind by Fabi. He played this pawn to g4 move, and Nikolas now charges at it, pawn to h5. We have queen to e2, setting up some sort of a defense, and pawn to g6. This is a brilliant move by Nikolas because, the G file is opening up or the H file is opening up. So either Nikolas will play H captures, and then king to G7. That's why G6 was so important to free up the G7 square for the king. Or Fabi captures on H5 and then the G file opens up. Fabi decides to capture on H5, which is the best thing you can do. G captures and now king to H1. You know that those rooks are now getting doubled on the G file, so it makes sense to move the king. Rook to G8 and rook to G1. We have queen to H7 and now rook A to F1, preparing pawn to F4, and now you could, rook A to F1 left the A4 pawn undefended, and you should capture that. You should just capture it and then, look for a way to trade down and push your pawns on the queen side and probably win the game in the long run. But no, Nikolas goes for the beautiful rook to G4. And what is rook to G4? Obviously, it cannot be captured. If you capture the rook, then H captures on G4, opens up a check, and whatever you play, you will just get checkmated. Queen captures on H3 will be mate in 1. So after rook to G4, what can you play? And this is why I found this game to be so interesting. Not because of just because of the build-up going into the round 6, with 5 out of 5, both of them, but because of this position here. What would you play here? Someone just played rook to G, someone 200 points lower rated than you played rook to G4. What do you play here as white? It's it's a very interesting position. So the best move you can play is king to H2. It was not played in the game. Fabi played pawn to F3 because you can see that Fabi is struggling to defend this position. He's already down to 8 minutes on the clock. Or maybe he's not struggling. Maybe he just thought he was completely fine and okay, we just play. But I'm just going to show you how complicated the move is. King to H2. And now, what do you play? The problem is you can no longer leave the rook here because what king h2 does is it creates an escape route for the white king. Now, if you go rook to g8, it seems like, okay, we're continuing to attack, but now you can capture the rook. And now after h captures, you deliver a check. There's king g3. And now look at this, f5. You can even capture it. e4 opens up a discovery. Look at this, bishop to f4. Bishop captures, king captures, and this looks like, you really shouldn't be doing this. but it is in fact perfectly fine, and the only way black can continue is queen to h6, otherwise white wins the game. So you have to deliver a check, king e5. Look at this, queen to d6 with check. You can go king to d4, and now after queen to c5 check, you will just have to settle for a repetition. Queen to d6 check, and so on and so on. If you try to win the game, let's say rook to e8 check, then after king to f4 and queen to d6 check, king to e3, let's say queen to h6 check, king comes to d4, and after queen to f6 check, there are no more checks. King to c4, white is just up a full rook and completely winning. So crazy stuff, but that is the evaluation. So king to h2, simply preparing h captures and g4 in cold blood. But f3 by Fabi, as he was already very low on time, and now rook to g3, and here it is very, very difficult to defend. We have pawn to h4, rook d to g8, now you can double up, and king to h2. The king now comes to h2, prepares probably queen f2 and queen captures, but there is nothing more you can try here. But queen to e7 has to be played. Queen to e7 followed by f5 and queen captures on h4 is the way to go. Nikolas chooses bishop to c5, which is also winning, just not quite as convincingly. Bishop captures, b captures, and now queen to f2. And here queen to g6 is played. Fabi says, all right, I'm ready to give up the queen. And Nikolas not interested in doing that. He should play queen to h6. Simply prepare queen to f4 because this will not suffice. Giving up the queen for two rooks, you will go queen f4 check, something like king to f2, queen to d2 check, king g3, and now f5, you open up the position and you will be winning this. But after queen to f2, queen to g6 was played, which looks like it's pretty much the same thing. You know, you just improve your position, and okay, you will reach that f4 square at some point. But here, there is a possibility of playing rook to b1. And the reason why rook to b1 is so sneaky is because you're going to play rook to b8. You're going to force a trade of rooks, and then you're going to play queen captures on g3, trade the queens, trade the rooks, and try and survive this endgame. It's still going to be sorry about that. Still going to be surviving because you're down a pawn in a bishops of the same color, but definitely the way to go for Fabi. However, after queen to g6, Fabi played pawn to a5, and now the position is completely winning. But you have to find the correct idea, and it's not easy to find it. You have to find queen to h6 again. It's basically a repetition of the position we already discussed. But here pawn to f5 was played, and now Fabi not only can bounce back into the game, but now it's actually Fabi who is winning here. And feel free to pause the video and find this tricky idea while I give you a couple of seconds. Sorry about that. The move that wins for Fabi is bishop to h3. Look at this. By playing pawn to f5, you have made your light square bishop not a part of this attack, and now there is no rook captures on h3. So what can you do here? Well, the threat is simply rook captures. You're going to lose the rook. So you have to play rook captures on g1, rook captures, and now, okay, the queen is attacked. You either trade everything or you don't if you want to keep the queens on the board. Rook captures on g8, king captures, let's say queen to g3 with check, king to h7, and now the winning idea, pawn to f4. So yeah, if you can see all that, you can win the game. And now after, let's say, e captures on f4, queen captures, not a lot of good moves for black. Only move that sort of keeps you in the game is queen captures on c3, but now you trade queen captures, bishop captures, queen captures, and you will start collecting pawns. Doesn't matter what black plays. Let's say king to g7, you will give a nice check here. And now if you go to the h file, okay, we pick up the pawn with check. If you go up the board, then you can give a nice check here, and then you pick up this pawn, you create two connected pass pawns, and you win the game. Okay, it will take you a lot of moves because queen and pawn endgames are complicated, but you will win it. And, you know, if Fabi played this, he would definitely win it. But Fabi didn't play it. He played e captures on f5, and now the position is completely winning, and the problem for Fabi is that it's completely winning pretty much whatever Nikolas plays, and he plays the best move. Queen captures on f5, and this comes with a terrible threat, of course. Let's say Fabi makes a silly move, you can sacrifice the queen, and rook captures on h3 will be checkmate. So after queen captures on f5, queen to g3 has to be played. We have rook captures, king captures, and now it's a bishop and queen versus two rooks and the bishop. Queen f4 check, king f2, we have queen to d2 check, repeating the position once, king to f2, queen to, sorry, not d2 check, now pawn, sorry, after king to f2, queen captures on h4 with check, king to e3, and queen to f4 with check, king to f2, queen to d2 with check, king to g3, and now the simplest way to win, pawn to h4 with check, as the pawn cannot be captured. If you capture the pawn, then queen f4 check, the king cannot go to h3, you have to go up the board, and then bishop to e8 is a beautiful queen bishop checkmate. So after h4 check, king to h2 was played, and now queen to f4 with check, king to h1 and h3, winning the bishop as the bishop is out of squares. Rook to b1, we have bishop to f5, not even rushing it, attacking the rook here. Rook to b8 with check, king to h7, and now what can you play? Rook to f8 was played. If you play bishop to f1 to sort of keep your peace, then you, of course, queen captures on f3, and after king h2, queen to f2 check, and you start, well, you resign. You have to play bishop g2 and give up the piece, because if you go back, then bishop e4 check, and now it's definitely all over. King to h2, queen to h4 will be checkmate. So after king to h7, rook to f8 was played by Fabi simply to, play something because he knows it's over. H captures on g2 with check, rook captures on g2, and queen to c1 with check. And he was in this position on move 49 that Fabiano Caruana resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. If you move the king, or if you play rook to g1, it's the exact same move. Queen h6 check will pick up the rook on f8, and that's it. So yeah, I mean, beautiful game by Nikolas, taking down a 2800 Fabiano Caruana. He did give him that one chance. I mean, if you guys found that, then you are most impressive. After that a5 and pawn to f5 was played, locking his light square bishop out of the game. Bishop to h3 was beautiful for Fabi, but I guess he just didn't have time. He played, he pretty much pre-moved it, because there's a 30 seconds increment, and you can see it went from 406 to 433, so he spent 3 seconds on the move. But yeah, he could have taken him down there. And as I said, both of them went into this round with 5 out of 5. Nikolas is now on 6 out of 6. Fabi loses a game, but the problem for Nikolas is that he drew his last 3 games, whereas Fabi didn't. And it is Fabiano Caruana who wins this tournament. So these are the standings. Fabi with 8 points, Nikolas with 7.5 points, Grigori Oparin 7, Ilya Nizhnik 7, and so on and so on. But I thought you guys might really enjoy this one, because we're hearing more and more about Nikolas's great achievements. Like I said, taking down Rajabov in that game, then taking down Arjun Erigaisi. Check out both of the links in the description below. And now taking down a 2800 Fabiano Caruana in classical with the black pieces. That is definitely something I enjoy sharing with the world. And regarding the FIDE circuit, it is still Arjun Erigaisi who is leading, but you can see not even by a full point. He has 114.77, and Fabiano Caruana now, after winning the US Masters, is 114.03. Then Nodrberg, then Alireza, then Prague, and so on and so on. But it's still early, but yeah, for the moment it is between Arjun and Caruana. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Also, something that I wanted to mention is maybe you guys don't know how the next World Chess Championship cycle will be decided, but for the next FIDE Candidates Tournament, which will happen in 2026, one of the players will be decided through a FIDE 2024 circuit. Another will also be decided through a FIDE circuit, but from the 2025 FIDE circuit. Then we will have 3 top finishers in the Chess World Cup in 2025. Then the top 2 finishers in the FIDE Grand Swiss, also in 2025, and also the highest average rating from August 2025 to January 2026, and also, yeah, like I said, the winner of the FIDE Circuit 2025. So yeah, that's some extra info. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Beautiful stuff by Nikolas taking down Fabi with black. Like I said, check out the 2 games in the description below. There are worse ways of spending your rest day from the World Chess Championship match than by checking out those 2 brilliancies. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it and the extra info. I would like to thank David Gasparian, Balaji Mutavaratan, Ahmad Khalil, Andrea Sorcinelli, and Casey Vance for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. I will make the 2 games that we've discussed, checking up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.